So guys, what's good? What's good? I hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are staying safe. Hope everything's good wherever you guys are. Guys, there's been a lot of news recently between this Canelo and Crawford. You know, a lot of people have been chiming in. And Bomac gave an interview, and obviously there's a lot to discuss. I might do another video later on, but basically Bomac was saying that if we fight Canelo, like, he's open to it. Bomac open to fighting Canelo, and he said that, you know what, if we fight Canelo, we'll pick him apart like we do with everybody else. Now, Bomac and his team have always been very confident, whoever Crawford fights, that, you know, Crawford is a top dog. But one thing I did see from Bomac, normally he's very confident when he didn't look confident there, probably because he knows the size difference. I personally think Crawford's at the stage where he just wants the big fights. Now, the problem I have with that is that irrespective if Crawford moves up and fights Canelo, he may look at it and think it's a free swing. If he goes up to 168 and beats Canelo, you're talking about one of the greatest ever in Crawford. If he loses, people will say, well, I was a smaller man, you know? So he's kind of got a get out of jail card. The only problem I have with that is, one thing I've noticed in boxing, it doesn't matter how great you are. If you lose, people will always hold that against you. And I just, like, Crawford right now, he's finally got the recognition and finally got the credit that he deserves. Why would he want to jeopardize that? Why would he want to jeopardize that and potentially get beat by Canelo, which I think he would at 168? I mean, that's a massive jump. I mean, talking about 21 pounds. Yeah. So he probably gets beat. Not probably, in my opinion, does get beat. What is the point of that? I don't quite get it. So for me, I think it would be crazy for him to do that, especially where he's at in his career and where he's got to. He's one of the best fighters, or considered the best fighter in the world right now. I just don't know why, because when you lose, it doesn't matter who you lose to, and the fact that you lose people, you go down in people's estimation. He won't be pound for pound best fighter in the world. So for me, I just think that Crawford should not fight Canelo Alvarez. I think he should go to 154, and if he wants to become undisputed in 3 weight classes, then he should look to go and clean out 154 and do it the way he did at welterweight. Maybe he hasn't got the desire to do that, and maybe he feels that there's not enough big fights and big enough money fights out there, and that's why he's targeting the winner of Canelo and Charlo. Now, obviously, he'd want that to be Charlo, because he knows that obviously if it's Charlo, then it's an easier fight. You know, it's not a guy that's way bigger than him. Even though Charlo is big, would be way bigger than Crawford, in my opinion. But he's a guy that's been operating at 154, so it could probably be done at a weight which favors Crawford a lot more. Whereas, you know, 168 would not favor Crawford. And Crawford's already stated that he would want to be undisputed at 168. But I like I said, I just don't think physically Crawford would be big enough, strong enough to be able to handle Canelo's power, strength. So I don't think he would stand much of a chance. But, you know, he obviously feels that, you know, he could go up there and his skills would pay the bills. But you know what, the reason why I doubt this, and the reason why I doubt his intentions here, and I have a feeling that this intentions is all to do with money. I'll tell you why. Because initially he was saying Canelo's too big. Now all of a sudden he become interested. Has someone got in his ear and told him the money that he could make? And now recently, I think Crawford's come out and said that it's the biggest fight that can be made in boxing. So it all kind of leads down a route financially to me. Whereas Crawford probably feels there's not a lot of big fights out there for him. Why not him make some big money and then bow out the sport? I just don't like the fact that he would be taking a risk, a massive risk, and a risk where he'd become underrated as a result if he was to lose. Because I don't think a guy moving up that many weight classes should become underrated. But he would, because when you take a loss, psychologically, human perception, you've lost. It doesn't matter whether you've moved up 10 weight classes, whether it's David fighting Goliath, it doesn't really matter, right? The fact is you've lost. And that's how a lot of fans are gonna criticize you when you lose. Even some experts might criticize you. So I just don't think, I think Crawford's finally got the credit that he deserves. There's no reason for him now to move up and fight a guy that's so much bigger, so much stronger, that's not going to be hurt by him. It's just a stupid fight, you know? And I just don't like it. I just think that Crawford could end up, hurting himself, damaging his legacy a little bit, because irrespective, like people may say, well, oh, well, Crawford was too small, this, that. No, it still hurts your legacy. Trust me. People will still be like, oh, yeah, lost to Canelo, he got knocked out. He's got knocked out. Do you honestly think people give, like, Amir Khan a pass? Him getting flattened by Canelo? No. And Crawford's a better fighter than Khan. So if they didn't give Khan a pass for that, he still gets trolled for that and getting knocked out. People don't care that he did well in that fight. He got knocked out. And people troll him for that, make memes and stuff. And Crawford might not care about that, and maybe Khan doesn't care about that either. But what I'm saying is that you become underrated as a fighter when you lose and you get flattened or you get knocked out. And when you move up that many weight classes, you put yourself at risk of that happening. Because very few fighters move up 3 weight, like Crawford, how many weight classes? He'd be moving up 154, 160. He effectively been moving up 3 weight classes. It's not even moving to middleweight. He's moving to super middleweight. That's 3 weight classes. That's like ridiculous. I don't even know if that should be allowed. To move from 147 to 168 is like, that's ridiculous. Think about the weight difference there. Think about the weight difference there, 21 pounds. And Bomac said it himself that Crawford probably walks around at that weight. So he'd be fighting at a weight where he'd be walking around at. That for me is not safe. Because effectively, he wouldn't be... So Canelo could be rehydrating to maybe 180, 185. Crawford would be probably 168 on the night. So Canelo will probably have like at least 17, 18 pounds on him. And naturally, Canelo's the stronger guy anyway. Imagine Crawford against Benavidez. I mean, that's a ridiculous fight. You know what I mean? It wouldn't even look right. Imagine them two standing each other and weighing. But this is what I mean. I know Canelo's not the biggest 168, but still, I mean, he's filled out nicely into that weight. He's way bigger than Crawford. Way bigger than Crawford. Forget the height. Forget all of that. He's massive. Canelo is way bigger than Crawford. Even if you stand Crawford and Canelo next to each other, Crawford's would be like body size wise. Not. Think about it. Canelo doesn't walk around at 168. He doesn't walk around at 168. Canelo walks around at least 190, maybe 200 pound. I won't be surprised if he walks around at 200 pound. And I think he'd be in good shape at 200 pound. Can you imagine a guy at that height for Canelo walking around at 200 pounds, or 5'8", walking at 200 pound? Yeah, in good shape. I don't think Canelo would be well out of shape at 200 pound. No way. So this is the point I'm trying to make, that Crawford, if you see Crawford at 200 pound, Crawford would be overweight. He'd be out of shape without question. So for me, I just don't think it's a fight that Crawford can win. I think it's one that could damage him, not just health-wise, but it could damage his legacy, because, like I said to you, it doesn't matter how many weight classes you go in, the circumstances. If you get knocked out or you lose, that will diminish your career. That will diminish your career. So Crawford doesn't need to put himself in that situation, because he's a great fighter, and people have accepted now that Crawford's a great fighter. So I don't see why he needs to put himself in that situation where he could potentially, hurt himself, and not just that, hurt his legacy when he doesn't need to. He can move to 154 and do it what he did at welterweight. I know there's not that many big fights, but money's not everything. Crawford would have made a lot of money. He's going to fight Spence again, where he's going to make even more money. So why does he need to move up and fight Canelo for 20, 25 mil? And potentially, damage his legacy, get hurt. I just don't see the merit behind it personally. But again, that's on him. If that's what he wants to do, and he feels that he can go up there and challenge and beat Canelo Alvarez, then, he can go and do it. But I just don't think at this point in his career, where he's at and what he's achieved, I don't think he needs to do it. I think he's already accomplished. I think he's already done what he needs to do. Personally, I think he could fight Spence, and if he wants to continue, look to become undisputed at 154. If not, then maybe even call it a day. Maybe even call it a day, because what is there for him to really achieve at this point? So yeah, that's my take on it. Leave your thoughts in the comment section, bro. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.